My name is Daniela. I'm one of the educators and of Inspired Living, and this is our third episode of the Inspired Living podcast. So we're really happy to be here with you. And episode 1 and 2, or if you scroll down a little bit, kind of tells the story of Abby and I and our relationship and our travel in friendship and in spiritual friendship for over 12 years now. And so we're just really happy to be here with you. And Abby, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby, and it's such a joy to be collaborating with Danny here at the Inspired Living podcast and in other fun Inspired Living adventures. And I am a coach, a personal and spiritual development coach. I am an herbalist, and I am a body worker. And I'm just really happy to have this new realm of spiritual friendship happening.
We get to play.
We get to play.
Yeah. And this really feels like play to me.
It totally does. It's the best.
And this has been, we're really, inviting you in. So bring tea. We aim to stream live on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock and Thursdays. However, this week it'll be Friday. So we'll make posts about it, but bring some tea. Our wish is that you just feel like you're pulling up a seat and we're sitting around a campfire together or a wood stove.
That's great.
And just chatting about the whole bit of it all.
That's right. The curriculum of life.
Yeah, this is where our journey began in both friendship and then in spiritual friendship is Abby and I don't know how many fires we have shared together.
Countless.
So many fires with tea and at the time also tobacco.
Yep. In the good old days of tobacco.
Tobacco. And we, there were a few years, one in particular that I remember we had, because we lived out in the country. And at times I think you did live with us. And then at times it was might as well be living because you're here so much. And there was that one year where I think we had a campfire. We treated the campfire like it was the Olympics.
Truly.
It was like, could we just have it burning all the time? And I mean year round in upstate New York. And I will never forget those winters where we would be shoveling out feet of snow to down to the
path down to the
going.
Oh, wait, now I have to tell a favorite. One of my favorite winter fire stories was it had snowed feet for sure. And it was because it snowed, we needed a good amount of lighter fluid to get the thing going because there was also ice and water in our fire pit. And the lighter fluid had frozen into a pot that was sitting by the fire. And so in our desperation to make sure that we had our spiritual fire going, Danny just picks up the entirety of the frozen pot and just dumps the lighter fluid, which was frozen into a block of ice this way. It's one of my all-time favorites because that was the level, friends. We were not messing around with fires all year round.
And what we would chat through in those fireside chats, which we're here with you, is those big questions found both Abby and I, all through our childhood and our teen years and our maturing into young adulthood. Those basic, enormous questions of who or what am I?
Yep.
For what purpose do I exist?
Yep.
What and where are we?
Yep.
Whoa. And how do I apply and live to the best of my ability in the curriculum of my life, exactly as my life is unfolding? How do I best apply my learning?
Yeah.
So I think our friendship and Inspired Living is very much about practical. God, this sounds boring, but to me, it's super exciting.
So fun.
Practical and applied spirituality.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. See, nobody's like, oh my God, that's the sexiest name.
So sexy.
I was leading some sessions on Monday night that had some far sexier titles and people would come. Like, I'm like, ooh, this is, but then I changed it. I'm like, I think a better upgraded title is practical spirituality, practical and applied spirituality. The numbers immediately fade.
Everyone was like, no, we're not.
I think it's the most exciting topic ever. I'd be at that workshop.
No, it's true. And I think what practical spirituality really is, and why we love our fireside chats, which have now migrated to fireside chats around the podcast, around the mic, are is that as our lives showed up, as certain characters entered our lives, as big plot twists happened, as big events unfolded, we would just bring those events to the fire, and sometimes with tears, sometimes with laughter, sometimes with aggravation, all the versions that you can experience as a human, the whole range of experience, we would bring it to the fire and say, okay, here's what's going on. Now what?
Here's the train. And one of the million things, because it's a limitless list that actually just keeps growing towards infinity, of things and reasons why I love you, and non-reasons why I love you. Both, I love you both reasonably and unreasonably so, is that it's the kind of friendship where there's deep empathy for what's going on. However, you and I don't get lost in the story of what's going on. And our focus is, while honoring the emotion of the moment, or while honoring the personal challenge of the circumstance, not the outer challenge, the personal, how is this my challenge? That has always been the focus, no matter what we're talking about, or no matter what's going on, is what is this showing me about myself that I either didn't know or didn't want to face? What is this? How do I live the principles? Oh, orthodontist is reminding us of a meeting. How do I?
Awesome. I love that.
How do I live and apply my learning? How do I live and apply what I learned in a similar situation previously to now? How is this for me? How is this for my healing, my growth and evolution, no matter what the storyline is that's unfolding? And that's one of the many things I so value about not only our friendship, but these conversations that we get to have in this podcast, that we get to co-teach about in courses, etc. So I really appreciate that. Like, I remember Katie, because I pretend that we went to the same school for the work with Byron Katie, even though we went to separate ones. Technically, we didn't. I remember her speaking to how ineffective it is in friendship and relationships if you're face down in the mud. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. I don't think that was the she used. Please don't go face down with your person. Don't go face down with someone in there. Don't get sucked into the world of story. Be the one that's sitting by. And I always have the image of just making sure they're breathing. That's all. Just make sure, like, it's useless if we're both face down in the mud. Then what? Then what? I'm seeing the image of like me in a hole. It's like, no, do not come down with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. That has been a cornerstone for many years of how we navigate things together. It's really beautiful, special.
And it really speaks to the context for which we have answered some of those unanswerable questions of what purpose do I exist? For what purpose am I here? I've decided, and it doesn't mean it's the truth, that the purpose of existence is for healing, growth, and evolution. That's what I'm calling the purpose for my existence, right? And then the fruits of that are all these other things. My job description is heal, grow, evolve, flourish. And life will give me everything I need for the growth of my soul, for the burning away of that which I'm not a fan of, the burning away of that which does not serve. I think it's an overused term, and it makes it sound just so freaking easy. Like, oh, I'll just get rid of that. Oh, that doesn't serve.
Just let it go.
Oh, that deep-seated tendency of comparison. Just let that go. No, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. God, that would be cool.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
However, when we go go methodically through the journey with steady self-effort, over time, it does become, it's like, oh, there it is again. Now
Yes,
I
absolutely.
and let that go. We're bringing that, as Sophie will just says, the what's in the unconscious automatic, when that
Yes,
starts to come up with awareness, now it does become easier and lighter, more lightweight.
absolutely.
So this afternoon we had a topic. We always chat beforehand, like, wow, what's on your mind? What's exciting to you?
Yeah.
What do we want to sit around the campfire and talk about?
Yeah.
And maybe you can present it a little bit, because we've just been in the dialogue since yesterday about it.
We have. I think this is a really fun topic. So today's topic is, have you ever heard the phrase no pain, no gain? It's like, get into the agony of life so that you can learn something and grow. Okay. There's an alternate option. There's both. We get the both. Also, no pleasure, no gain. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about the many facets of pleasure and joy, and the sort of the cliche phrase of follow your bliss. And what does that really mean? And where does that tip over the fine line into things like addiction and distraction? It's not that we don't want to dive into our patterning, our healing, the things that are the things that uh, the places where the fire does show up in our lives to work with. Of course we do. And we get to have the full range of human experience and dive into every single crevice of human existence. So perhaps I'll just share.
Yeah, dive in.
I'll dive in. I'll just share a little bit about where this came from for me, why I love this topic, why I specifically love this topic. Is I grew up in the context of Catholicism as the religion of my family. And I want to preface by saying I have no I've done so much healing around my own relationship with religion. I welcome all the views of life. And I think all paths lead to the same place. So I'm a yay for all spiritual paths. And something that I learned in my upbringing is that sort of there's an inherent suffering or shame that came along with that for me. And there was no encouragement to follow joy, to follow inspiration, to follow pleasure. So for me, my healing journey for a lot of years looked like deep diving into the difficult parts, the patterned parts, the automatic parts. And that was so important for me. And then all of a sudden, a new scope started opening, a new doorway opened. And that doorway was, I can also heal through embracing pleasure. I can also heal through embracing joy and through embracing laughter and through following the voice of joy that calls me in my life. And what I've learned is at this moment in my life is that life for me is about embodiment of all the parts. So when the grief arises, I dive in all the way. When the anger arises, I dive into the anger. But when the joy arises and when the pleasure arises, I dive in there too, fully. And it has become a very important part of my healing process to really allow myself with openness to dive into the things that feel pleasurable and joyful in life. So, Danny, I'm curious to hear what your opinion is on this topic and what your experience is with this journey.
Two things I'm really present to. One, you're describing where I land as this is what sober and sobriety means. It doesn't mean the absence of smoking or the absence of enjoying a glass of wine or the absence of cheese nips. It means, through my lens in this moment, being equipped, having the capacity to be with the full range of the life experience in the moment without thinking you need to change the way you're feeling.
Yes.
So one thing. Number two, and we don't know how to do that until we're taught, because we're of a different generation where we even have the luxury of considering, can my life be about joy versus can it be about survival, right? Different generations had different times or different focuses. And like, my parents were amazing. The language they used wasn't make sure the most important thing you do is create a life from your joy. That's not because they didn't, it was not their programming, their conditioning, or it was unquestioned, right? They had the conditioning and they had their times, and my parents grew up exactly how they grew up. And I don't think they would answer the question of what is the purpose of life, to experience in the myriad range of emotions and wake up to what you are. That isn't how they would fill in the blank on that. They would answer it differently. And then their parents' generation, completely different response. Right? So I'm present to what a joy it is that we even get to have that be the lens through which we even consider our lives. And how beautiful you just described that. As I was listening, I was seeing the images of well, I have a lot of vata in my system, which one of the symptoms is I can have dry skin. So I to the best of my ability, when I have or I remember to use this wonderful oil, I'm like a slip and slide afterwards, right? I'm like, I could hurl down a grassy hill and slide, right? I am so
Yes.
oiled up.
I love that.
And if I run out or I forget to order it, there's a couple of drier days. I'm like, well, butter would work, right? So, in those days when I have oil, when I have joy, because it's so nourishing, it's like, soak it in. Soak it in, because it carries you. It's the foundation. It's the canvas upon which then I can experience. I have the courage to be with the other dimensions that also arise and are seeking a tenderness. And I really see this joy, this follow your bliss, follow your joy, as twofold. In Ayurveda, you often ask your question, is X depleting or strengthening? And I would say strengthening also can mean nourishing and cherishing.
Yes.
So this path of following your joy, it's different than gratification. Is it joy or is it gratification? Because gratification isn't of a nourishing, self-cherishing quality.
Yes.
And gratification is what I turn to for an immediate shift, right? Because that's the difference. That's how they land differently in my mind in this very moment. Doesn't mean it's nothing.
That is such a great distinction.
And we weren't taught necessarily to be self-cherishing. I mean, even in the translation of some of the Buddhist teachings, they'll say the root of suffering is self-cherishing, which of course is true in that regard too, if you have a me versus a we mentality, right? So it's like the word cherishing, how I work with it is it of a nourishing nature such that I can be aligned in my three centers of intelligence? Will this support my inner alignment? Is this nourishment, is this joy supporting my inner alignment? So that, for me, there's a series of simple questions you can ask yourself to find, where am I in the range?
Yes, and it might take experimentation, because you might say, oh, I think this will help me feel nourished. And then you might try it a few times and say, you know, I want to tweak that a little. And I think that's what's exciting about this process. That's what makes, you know, spirituality practical or applied, as you were speaking about earlier in the in the call.
Title ever.
Yeah, I mean, so sexy, obviously. Is that you actually just get to play with all of it. It's your life. Like, I know this sounds so simple, but it's been so big for me. This is your life. It's your inner voice. It's your relationship with yourself. It's your relationship with the world. You get to say, I think it would be really nourishing to go to bed at 11 p.m. tonight, because it feels important to stay up with my family or something. And then maybe the next day you wake up and say, I'm a little tired. I'll try 10 tonight. It can really be that simple. It can be the littlest of things, and you get to just play and experiment through your life with where that line is. And I think, there's this, if we're chasing pleasure and avoiding pain, to me, that's gratification. We're running after, oh my God, I need something to fix me and make me feel better. And we're avoiding, I don't want to feel that. For me, that's how gratification shows up. And it does, by the way. I'm not sitting here saying like, I have figured out the perfect balance. I have not. It's a constant journey. But it's been such an important one for me to this process of moving from gratification, running towards pleasure and running away from pain, and into how I see it is the phrase that comes to me a lot is living into all the corners of my life. If you imagine,
oh my God, we say that again. Say that like 3 more times.
Living into all the corners of my life. So it's like, if you imagine around you, you have the most beautiful, like your dream space, your dream home, your dream cottage in the forest, whatever it is. How I feel that, it's like I'm living into every single part of my home. Every corner looks and feels how I love it to look and feel. And I'm always playing with it. I'm always moving things around. I'm always stepping into sections that maybe I haven't been into before. And for me, that's what it feels like to begin to just expand into the wholeness of my being, in my life, in my body, in an embodied way.
Okay, friends, thanks for joining us. Like that's it. That's it. We it's that is again a context that I and I, like you, there are times where I love the path of stepping back and like resting in awareness, and it's stepping out of the sensorial aliveness of it's like that Shiva Shakti dance, right? And hence I'm so present to Lauren and Camille as we're having this conversation, because Lauren and Camille are very much, they brought through the Radiance Sutras. Some of you watching may know. And the subtitle is like 112 paths to like wonder and delight. And it's all about embracing the path of our existence through embodiment and the rapture of being alive through our senses. And that is portal to experiencing ourselves as what we really are, to having direct experience of ourselves as permanent, unchanging, loving awareness of being. And so it's through the journey of the senses and not denying it. It's through the journey that's a powerful pathway of embodiment. His Holiness said to Andrew Harvey, when he asked him, what's the purpose of life? His Holiness said, it's to embody the transcendent. Pick the word you like, to embody divinity, to embody source, to embody love, to embody God. Whatever language you like, about any tradition, it's like, oh, we are here to feel the aliveness. So it's like, pick one. Like it's that limbo sometimes, that in a moment where I'm like, I'll feel a tension of, do I wish to step out and rest in observing awareness? Or do I want to go into this and just be conscious? Just be conscious. You either are wonderful. And I love that dance between the two.
I love
so it's just super gorgeous. So anyone that's enjoying this conversation, I cannot stress highly enough how magnificent the Radiance Sutras book by Lauren Roche and Camille Maureen is on this path, because there are 112 very simple meditations, if you will, on accessing a different facet and dimension of your embodied aliveness.
That is so beautiful.
And in this, at the introduction, I love intros to books, right? Like it's a special room, you know, when you read the intro from an author.
That. Oh, yes.
I love the intro. Like, I think sometimes people maybe skip it, but to me, the intro is like, I'm on the couch and we're getting cozy because you're setting the backstory, the stage. And
love that.
I'll never forget that in the intro, they described that essentially the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which is what the Radiant Sutras is a guide for being with the full joy to terror of existence. That's it. That's the range. Joy to terror. And can we learn to be with the fullness, everything in between, to be sober to it, to know we have the capacity to be with it. Everything we experience is a portal to the self. Everything, every moment, every nanosecond has the capacity to be a door through which there's a portal to the self. And I find for myself, when I get caught up in busyness, business does two things to me. Three, it pulls me out of four, pulls me out of joy, out of presence, out of my heart, and into seriousness, and too masculine, where too much masculine energy and approach of like, versus that staying presence for me is a very feminine experience of the heart center. And when I move up only into my head center and I don't have them still in communication, that busyness and doing pulls me right out of my heart. And then I miss all of what I've just said. There's no portal. There's no nothing.
There's no dance.
It's just do, right? Without the delight, the delight, the wonder and delight.
I'm really getting this is what's so fun to me, is like the nuance of these kinds of conversations, because you can do the same activity, right? You can do the same action with a different level of presence. So you can be doing, efforting, pushing through, forcing through, getting linear, doing it well, doing it perfectly. I mean, there's a million ways to be,
because it's now done. And that's it. The end goal is the done product.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
End goal is the 100 millionth lunchbox I've packed.
Exactly.
But
yes.
When you bring presence, and when I bring gratefulness, and when I bring holy moly, this grain grew somewhere and someone brought it to the place where they make grain in somebody's hands. Because of course I imagine every loaf of bread was made by some grandma. Of
course.
Why wouldn't it be? Right? Even if it's sliced in a plastic bag.
Totally.
Somebody's Nana needing love.
Somebody's Nana.
Story. I get to roll with it. And I'm just mystified. It's so gratefulness and humility and appreciation and reverence all flood my system. Their felt sensations, these qualities of being, these holy ideas, these heart virtues flood your system. And that's where the portal appears, is when we're flooded with these holy ideas and these virtues.
I have to share one of my all-time favorite quotes, because it's exactly what you just said. One of my all-time favorite quotes, and I think it's some beautiful, I don't know who said it, but
some beautiful, amazing soul.
It's some beautiful, like Buddhist, deep, lovely, but it stays in my consciousness all the time.
All right, I'm turning my 5 wing off. That wants to like Google,
that wants to Google.
Look it up. and play the guess the quote game, okay? Which still might happen. So go ahead. Guess the speaker.
You'll probably know. I'm sure you'll know it already.
Have a children for $500, Alex.
Truly, you would be my phone a friend for this any day, because you are like a wealth of, you have the whole index of quotes behind you.
Literally my notes in my phone. Side note, we're coming back to your quote. Yep. I was looking at the other day. I was like, make sure, because Christopher has it on the cloud, which I also imagine is a literal cloud in the sky.
It's
like just pulled my notes.
Totally.
That's how tech savvy I am. I'm like, oh, there's a cute cartoon cloud. It's got the things.
Absolutely.
Like, when I die, you have to make sure Abby gets like gets the notes downloaded to, okay, please promise me, because
I know. I have a list of things that I know.
Well, the moment I take my final exhale, you're like, get Danny's notes, do things.
Yep, exactly. Yes. Get the library.
And I was listening to a very particular version of Phil Collins' Take Me Home. It's called the one on YouTube that has Phil Collins' Take Me Home live with drums, that you want to play over and over at my funeral.
That's a separate list for what happens at the funeral, but I need to add that. That's not at the.
I'll get you the song list. Okay, thank you. Okay, back to the Buddhist quote.
Okay. Back to the quote, which has to do with what Danny just said about packing lunches and Nana's making bread, right? The quote says, "Bread in the hand is the body of the cosmos."
Crying, instant tears. I don't even get it in this moment. Like I have to like break it down, but I know. I think we say it a few more times.
Okay, so
like let us receive this like a sutra.
It really is. That's what it is. Bread in the hand is the body of the cosmos.
Oh my God, it's so getting
I'm getting goosebumps
in all times, in all like the stardust in the bread, the light that Christopher always says when we just stacked some firewood, and he was like, he handed me this little piece of wood, and what does he call it? He calls it like embodied sunlight or something like that. Like, I know.
I love that. That is really, that's the essence of, to me, being so present in the moment, because anything, it doesn't have to be bread, pick up anything next to you right now. Like glasses in the hand is the body of the cosmos. It's what it means to me, and this is one of those lovely quotes that just keeps working me and keeps shifting and keeps getting into my cells over my lifetime. Rock in the hand, heart rock in the hand is body of the cosmos. And what it really means to me is, imagine the infinite number of things and beings and atoms and events that had to happen for this moment, for this object to exist right now in my hand. It is absolutely infinite. And why I think it says the body of the cosmos is that everything, including our own bodies, but everything becomes the manifested material body of God, of the entire cosmos, of the universe right now, right here in this present moment. We're experiencing it now, the body of the cosmos. It is magnificently unbelievable when you bring your full attention, awareness, and presence into the miracle that is every single thing around us, in front of us, within us, is the body of the cosmos now. It's
never to be repeated. Like a kaleidoscope. Like that's why that kaleidoscope is such a beautiful symbol of, right? That, remember that, you know, the one.
I know the one. Yep.
A little mini one, like a kaleidoscope. It's like what you're describing. It's like, this is the expression of consciousness. This is the expression of love. This is the expression of God in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. It won't ever happen the same way twice. You'll never get that same loaf of bread. Also, what that just reminded me of that you just shared is that exercise of, this is one of the gratefulness keys exercises is, I'm grateful for glasses. I'm grateful for the bread, like holy moly. And for whom do I have to thank? Well, I have the the Nana who needed it. Oh, and then for whom do you have to thank for Nana who needed it? Okay, well, it goes wherever it takes you on a journey to what you've just described. And for whom do I have to thank? And for whom do I have to thank? And you just keep
And
until
with
you
ripples
until
of
you're in tears because from direct experience of like, oh my gosh.
full goosebumps right now. So beautiful. So beautiful. Mm.
Is there anything else that is present for you in this moment around bread, bliss?
You know, sometimes we get right to the core of it and then there's not much left to say.
Right, okay. Right, the path of honoring pleasure and really what
Yeah. I
pleasure
will. There is one more thing that I'd love to share, which is a slight shift into a different space, but I would love to share this. This is a distinction that comes from my mentor, one of my most special mentors, Sophie McLean. And she speaks about the distinctions. She's the queen of distinctions in my world. She'll take two words that I thought were the same, and she will explain how they are different and how language creates our entire reality. And therefore, it's very important to be aware of the words that we're using. So I'll share this. This is her teaching. She gives these three distinctions between pleasure, happiness, and joy. Pleasure is the material world. It's your body. It's the experience of pleasure in the body, in the world. It is having a delicious bowl of pasta. It is floating in the sea. It is making love with someone you adore. It is joy of kneading bread. Like that's pleasure. It's letting pleasure flood your body is material.
and there's so and the senses are engaged, right? So how do we engage, how do we experience the material is through our senses.
Thank you for that. Yes, through our senses. Yep. Happiness is on the psychological level. It's on the mental plane. Happiness is thinking of my favorite memory. Happiness is having a conversation with my best friend. That's for me. It's we're on multiple levels right now, but that one level that's happening is our conversation in the mental plane. Happiness is dreaming or fantasizing about something really special. Happiness is the perhaps hearing the buzzing of a bee and thinking about all the ripples of the bee. And then joy, which could be maybe synonymous with bliss. Joy is spiritual happiness. It's not spiritual happiness. Joy is the spiritual experience of the wholeness that rises up within you. It's not can't be created. Joy is it's the spiritual level, and I know that Danny can speak way more on joy.
No, not necessarily. I think that I'm just present to, well, so much gratefulness for our teachers and guides along the way. I want to make sure that we let you, everybody, know how you can connect with some of our incredible teachers. But Katie wrote one of my favorite books, A Thousand Names for Joy. And it's like, as you're describing joy, the image I have with joy is this it never runs out. It's the perpetual, infinite, eternal wellspring of joy. It's like, it's what we are. It's what we are. I think it's different than like love and light, but there's this our aliveness is the embodied expression. We are the embodied expression of joy. And we're clearing any of those barriers for us to have that awareness, to be able to like be perpetually drinking from that cup of joy, of knowing ourselves as that.
That circles back to inspired living.
Right. And joy has so many different expressions. It doesn't always look or feel bubbly or effervescent. I think our constitutions give insight to how we experience joy, right? As a Vata person, primarily, joy for me is bubbly champagne water, right? It's like, it's just, there's this one time I was in the ocean in Costa Rica, and it was hot water heaven. I like hot water,
Like
hot
bathtub
water. I don't know if that's ecologically a good thing. Slice of time, and the water was perpetual effervescence. Could scoop up foam, and it was just like dazzling champagne bubbles, like ow. Right. So that's I'm like, oh, I now have a like the ultimate expression of what joy is. I think constitutional joy, I think fire joy is going to feel different. I think kapha, earthy water joy, is going to feel different, right? So that's the cool thing. We're all on our own journeys with and as joy. Lost my train of thought. I know I was talking about our teachers, like, so Byron Katie is one. She teaches about joy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you just shared about each person having their own experience with joy, which this will likely be a theme that I constantly circle back to, is that, again, these journeys are individual and unique and specific. Our healing is for us, and then we get to bring that out into the world as contribution. But really learning, again, that for me has been a big journey in my pleasure journey, has been trusting that inner voice so deeply, and following it and saying yes to it. And it's individual and specific. I wouldn't, there, for me, choosing to take up roller skating as like a fun, I'm not a super athletic person. It's not an easy, it's not something I don't put on roller skates and then go do like beautiful spins. Like I'm doing baby giraffe on a lot on the skating rink, but it brings fun. It gets me in touch with myself, for me. And I have invited some people to come with me to the skating rink, and they're like, that sounds like a nightmare. That doesn't sound like fun for me, So why I use that example is your simple directions are for you. Your directions to accessing your joy and learning to trust your inner voice are yours. And that's very, very special. And that's, to me, what it means to really build a loving relationship with oneself that then can be translated to sharing it with the world, sharing it with our families, our partners, our friends, contributing to others. That is for me, the journey. And now I'm going to do a segue. Now we're segueing. Now we're,
I'm on the ride with you. No, and I'm also
Great.
looking at the cutest thing in the world. Picture this, like perfect white snow, classic white snow, like everything's blanketed, and the tree right outside my window has like no less than 20 mourning doves right on the tree where the bird seed, and they're just all in their like perfect hunkered down mourning dove shapes. So it's like so beautiful. I love mourning doves. I love
the joy. That is pure joy.
This is my heaven. This is my heaven. And I remember as a child, the way our roof was, every morning, one mourning dove would come and just coo right outside my window as like its little wake up, like. And my parents, to the extent that my parents then called them coo birds, which I also was young enough to not know that was not their National Audubon Society. Which I argued with the National Audubon Society lady who did a visit to our elementary school to talk about birds. And I was like, oh no, they're coo birds.
I didn't know this story about you.
Well, but Dory, maybe.
Maybe Dory.
Like we'll get to tell it. This is the fun of growing older together, is we just get to tell the same stories over and over together.
And be amazed every time. Be in astonishment every time. What a perfect, like, early tracking event for you to be like, to have mourning doves as part of your reality so young, and then to get to see them through your life.
Love them. I love them. So yeah, joy. Okay, segue.
Yep, segue. So I think we're reaching maybe the end of our hour. And so the segue is, I just wanted to ask you about, I know you have a 21-day soul quest coming up, and I want to talk with you about it because speaking of getting really deeply in touch with one's own voice and trusting one's own self, I think the 21-day soul quest is such an incredible pathway for that. So would you mind sharing a little bit about it?
So for more years than I am aware of in this moment, I like to approach things through a slightly scientific lens. As you can see, Kubert was not an example of that.
Or was it?
And going back to the start of our conversation, we were talking about like testing things, like explore one thing at a time. I like that, how science, that's a principle of the scientific method, is to only manipulate one variable as best as when possible, so you can really study the results, right? Let our lives be the results that are the measurable results of our practices, of our steady self-effort. As one of my teachers says, our whole journey is like two wings of the bird. There's one wing is steady self-effort. Keep applying steady self-effort consciously. Be awake with your efforts. Choose the path that you, where there, and measure the fruits, right? See the fruit that grows in your life, of your life. So apply the steady effort and see the fruits that grow in your life. And the other wing is grace. Where grace, through my lens, and this is where a little Teresa of Avila comes in, is where grace or love enters you where it already lives, and it moves you where it's needed the most. So like a true scientist, I've really, to the best of my ability, enjoyed the process of focusing on one practice, one thing, for a period of time, much in the same way you take an antibiotic. Let's pretend antibiotics are great for you, no harm done, your bacteria are fine. And medicine works, and if it's not triage medicine, like an antibiotic works for 7 days, 10 days, 5 days over time, and it has a cumulative effect. So I noticed that there were practices that I would just personally, kind of secretly and silently, make up and put myself through. Like I would schedule every day going out for a walk in my community and just be in the felt sensations of varying qualities of being. So maybe one day or 1 month or 2 months, I felt saturated in my thinking, in my feeling, and in my action of and as awe or wonder or delight or mercy or brilliance or calm. So each one is its own world and its own quality of being. And so I would practice what happens if I am absorbed in and as this particular quality of being. How do I experience myself? How do I experience others? How do I experience the world through the saturation of that quality of being? And to come back to it as many times throughout the day as I could remember to, which then led us into wrist writing, right? Like, you know, it's like I put the word there, like the quality of being, whether it was compassion or mercy or awe, write it on my wrist, because it would that, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. So what that practice developed over years to become one of my most favorite programs of adventures and journeys to share with students and with clients. And some people know this program as the Awareness Keys. And it actually started out before that in Radiance course as the quest journey. So this Sunday is the reboot 7 million.0 of the Soul Quest journey, where every day you'll get to practice just what I described. And for those who fully participate, it is like a game changer beyond words. It is a game changer. And so this Sunday it starts, and for 21 days, I'll guide you through this journey, and I make it very efficient for your time and your busy lives, such that you can lean in as much as you want, and or you can step back and do it your own way. So every day I go live in a private Facebook group, share with you your mission possible directions. Like, here's the practice for today. Everyone go scatter, like enjoy, and we'll regroup at the end of the day. And like, what are your field notes? Like, scientists make notes. And so let's come back and share our notes from the field with one another. And the learning and the excitement and the enthusiasm within the participants is really, really so beautiful and so powerful. And the results are very measurable. It's like,
The
oh,
results are very
yeah,
measurable.
I like results.
Yeah.
Like, great results are the following. Wow, mom, you're more fun to be around now. Right?
Totally.
Or Bob, who I used to just have this persistent complaint about, is suddenly occurring different to me. And
Yeah.
Bob's not changing. I am.
Yes.
Something shifted in me, which then has Bob show up differently, right? So it's a really powerful way to become reestablished in your own true nature, your own uniqueness as well, and to feel very nourished, to feel reconnected to your goodness, to your delight, to your joy, to it cultivates a good energy. These practices helps us to recollect those fragmented senses of ourselves and to feel good vital energy. So it's an amazing program. We'll share the link, and it's only $44 to join. You're fully supported for 21 days. And then
I'll just say that that's quite a bargain because I have done this course many times in many iterations, and it is truthfully life altering. So that's amazing.
And the cool thing is, like, and you'll have access to as long as Facebook's a thing, you'll have access to the Facebook. and sometimes people will then go back and do it again and slower, right? Because we're going to move through one key of the day. And for those who have done this program before, there are new keys. I didn't know how it was going to go, and new keys have shown up, and a different process of working with it. This iteration wants participants to become even more empowered than ever. Cardinal,
Of course.
red, so beautiful.
Oh, in the snow, cardinal in the snow
Yeah,
is the
like the contrast of and that's always my dad saying hi.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Tom. And this iteration, these keys really want participants to become much more intimate and trusting of the wellspring of their own internal inherent wisdom and guidance. So there'll be much more opportunity for participants to put a focus on, how does this key wish to teach me specifically, right? I will set the stage of, this is a broad stroke about the key and how it can be worked with. And yet more of the journey is going to be you connecting, the participant connecting with the simple directions within, with their own inner GPS. So I'm really excited. It starts on Sunday. We'll kick it off with an hour-ish Zoom, and then every day 7:00 p.m. I'll be live in the Facebook group giving you the key for the next morning, so you can either watch it the night before or you can wait to play the replay in the morning, whenever. So that way it honors people's time zones, because I don't want somebody in France to have to wait until lunch to get the key for the day, right? So they can just, and I won't put it in the title so it can be a surprise, because I like the surprise of knowing what the key of the day is. So there won't be any like giveaways. No spoiler alerts.
No spoilers. Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. Just put the link in the thing. And also,
thank you, Christopher.
This is a really fun program to join with a friend. If you have like a girlfriend or a guy friend, or a spouse or a sister, doing this with a friend. Oh my gosh, I want to share a story. I shared this program, and I'm developing a different version of this for those who have terminal illness. That's not what this version is, though it could be. But this version, actually, I did work with this most beautiful woman who had a terminal illness, and she did this program with her sister. And a year after she died, her sister sent me an email. It's like one of my most cherished emails. She said that those 3 months, because they did this program over an extended period of time, it wasn't every day. No, that's not true. They did it every day, but it was the full, like, 100 and some keys. It was like the full program.
Oh, they did the
That
full.
this was the closest and most alive we ever felt together, because the keys are designed to bring you closer and closer to yourself. They're designed to bring you into the intimacy and the full aliveness of what you are. And it's like we're fully online. You're fully online in your system. Terminal illness wasn't a problem, because what was bigger than the problem was their connection and their intimacy together, their presence with each other. Like, it's really what it means to live present. Like, you're really here now, fully, not just in part, not 90%, 100%. And these keys support, like, we all know, like, be present, live present is wisdom that arises again and again, is very powerful, simple directions. This gives you a how. This gives you a how to live present, a way to focus your attention and energy right here, right now, in the living moment at play, exactly as it is unfolding. They're really magical. And what I love about the keys is they're not bringing to anyone something that is outside of you. They show you how you are already that. They show you, the keys show you again and again, you are the facet that is mercy. You are the facet that is clarity. You are the facet that is tenderness. And to experience that in your own unique way, because that makes up the whole being. So we break down and experience, oh, I'm gonna be with this facet, this dimension of my being today, all day long, secretly and silently. Nobody has to know you're even doing it, you know. However, they will wonder what it is you're having, like, because that's like,
I want
you
what
know.
she's
And
having.
I suspect that joy is love and light together, is like, I just kept seeing those two coming together. There's some chart.
Oh, I love that.
My brain,
Yep.
right? You know
This
me, I
is
love
the brain.
charts.
I love your brain so much. This is the Danny brain for sure. Next time there will be a chart, friends. Thank you so much for sharing that. I got every single time you speak about the keys, even just speaking about them in an umbrella way, I get an experience of their power. It's a powerful, powerful set of simple directions into the self. So beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing them with people. There are a few coaches that are trained in this work and bring them to their clients one-on-one. And it's a really astounding journey to be led one-on-one through coaching with them. So thank you for sharing it with your clients. All right. Well,